This is a picture of Codex Vaticanus. It was one of those complete copies that we have. Codex Sinaiticus, it's one of the complete copies that we have. So there's correctors. Even though these are handwritten copies, they're, they have corrections on them of what later scribes thought was a problem or the things that ought to be changed. So we have about 5,800 Greek New Testament manuscripts. All are hand copied. How many have errors? Every single one of them. There's about 138,000 total words in the Greek New Testament. There's at least 400,000 variants. You can flip to John chapter 5. Does anybody have a New King James? Mike asked, okay, what kind of errors? Is that New King James or Old King James? That's the Old King James.
I have New King James.
You have the New King James. Well, that's great. Let's go with the New King James. Okay, Mary, you read the first phrase of John chapter 5, verse 1. Just the first phrase.
After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem.
Okay, stop right there. Okay, there was the feast or a feast?
A feast.
A feast. The only way that you're going to see this is if you have a Greek New Testament, or you have access to the internet. And so we're going to go with access to the internet. Okay, so this is the Net Bible, netbible.org, John chapter 1, and net stands for New English Translation. And notice this, after this, there was a Jewish feast, footnote number 2. A Jewish feast, Jews were obliged to go up to Jerusalem 3 major annual feasts: Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacles. If you just go a Jewish feast, can you tell which one of those 3 it was? No. But notice down here, it gives a note on the textual criticism. See this TC? Textual variant copied herate or hey herate. In other words, the hey is the. So it would be a feast or the feast. And if it's the feast, for sure it's Passover. It's got to be Passover. That's the only way the Jews would write the feast. But we don't know if hey, the word in Greek for the, ought to be there. And so they give all of this. I'm just going to read through this, and this is how technical things get. So the textual variants, I'm going to skip. Either a feast or the feast may not appear significant at first, but to read hierate with the article would almost certainly demand a reference to the Jewish Passover. The article is found in, and notice all this stuff. So it's listing the Greek manuscripts that we have where it has the article. And then, but is lacking, so then it's saying in all of these Greek manuscripts, and there's a whole science. This Aleph, that's a Hebrew letter. That there is only one Greek manuscript that has a Hebrew letter, and that is Codex Sinaiticus. All these others are early manuscripts. Then notice they have numbers. So those are later manuscripts. They have this PM. It's lacking in P. So that's a papyrus. So those are early. These other manuscripts, it lists all the ones. And so that's how scholars make a decision of whether or not it ought to be a feast or the feast.
It's definite and indefinite articles.
Exactly. a English scholar such as yourself would know this. How much difference does that make?
But
It could, especially if you're trying to develop a timeline of Jesus's earthly ministry, it would make a difference. Okay. In 2022, how much difference does that make?
Well, how many Passovers he had?
In John is the only gospel he's got 3 Passovers. So this would be 4. So it would make a difference. But even if there's 4 Passovers, then you have Jesus with a slightly longer earthly ministry.
Doesn't change theology.
It doesn't change much. Okay, now let's keep reading. Let's jump down to verse 4. Read verse 4.
For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first after stirring of the water was made well of whatever disease he had.
How many of you have verse 4?
I was gonna say,
I do.
where?
You do.
Same exact words.
Same exact words.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Verse 4.
Okay,
Mine's in
Wait a
a
minute, you mean-
footnote,
it's in a footnote.
Yeah.
NIV.
So
Some are missing?
Yes.
Verse 4, I have verse 4.
Okay, so look at the front of your Bible and find out what version it has. Chances are you have King James, maybe a RSV.
No.
Oh, does your verse 4 have brackets around it?
No.
No. Okay, so
Yours of his has brackets.
yours has brackets. So yours is probably New American Standard. So no, it's not. So all of the modern translations are going to tell you, hint, hint, this is not in our earliest manuscripts. And the more bold ones just leave it out. Okay, now, if we don't know whether or not there was an angel that actually healed people, how much theological difference does that make about Jesus? It makes a difference about how we're going to translate this verse, right? You know, but the problem is, generally speaking, is we have too much New Testament. We have too much. And probably, maybe this is what the Jews believed, okay? They were huddled around this pool for some reason. He had some reason to believe that he could get healed. And with verse 4, you have it all tied together. And now you know why.
It's an explanation.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of extra biblical tradition and writing about their beliefs.
yes.
So it could be imported from that whole cultural understanding of what was actually going on.
Yes. And so the total difference is about 1%. So there's 1% of all 27 books of the New Testament that we have serious questions about what ought to be there. Wow, 1%. Doesn't make any difference. Okay, let's go down to same chapter, John 5, but now let's go down to verse 18. Verse 18. Just jump down there. Mary, you want to read verse 18 for us?
Therefore, the Jews thought all the more to kill him, because he not only broke the Sabbath, but also said that God was his father, making himself equal with God.
Oh, golly. So Jesus was saying he was the Son of God, and the Jews took that how?
That he was God.
That he was God. He is equal with God. Guess how many textual variants we have there? None. And that makes a difference. That makes a huge difference. That is the very nature of Jesus. Is Jesus God? But there we have no textual, there is no textual problem. You don't have to believe it, but the text is clear.